The critics really shat on this film, but did it really deserve all that hate? Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be talking about Michael, the new musical biopic directed by Antoine Fuqua starring Jaafar Jackson as none other than his own uncle, Michael Jackson. And this film chronicles Michael Jackson's rise to fame, starting from when he was a member of the Jackson 5 alongside his brothers, all the way to when he broke out as a solo artist. Now, when the film was released, there was a huge rift between audiences and critics. The audience seemed to like it, but the critics, they demolished this film. And did it really deserve all that hate? Well, I couldn't really agree or disagree until I saw the film for myself. And now that I have, let me just say this. I think the critics seriously need to get a life, or if that's too harsh, I think they need to learn how to find joy in the simpler things in life. Because seriously, guys, this film was not as bad as they were saying. In fact, I actually found this film to be quite entertaining. I had a lot of fun with it. I am convinced at this point that the only reason people dogged this film as much as they did was due to personal reasons as to how they felt about its subject, Michael Jackson. As talented as Michael Jackson was in life, he was also a very controversial figure who was marked by scandal towards the end of his life. And this film does not really go into any of the allegations that were brought against him. And a lot of people were pissed off about that because they felt like this film definitely needed to address those issues. With all due respect, let me just say this. First of all, this film takes place between 1966 and 1988. As far as I know, the allegations really didn't start until the 90s. Therefore, chronologically speaking, these allegations never happened. So therefore, you cannot judge a movie based on what is not there. You can only judge a film based on what is there. And I realize that's a tall order for some people because Michael Jackson is probably one of the most famous people who ever lived. And he's been profiled again and again and again. So naturally, it is safe to assume that a lot of the things you know about the guy are not going to end up in the final film. But let me tell you what I thought about the film based on what I saw. Let's start with the obvious highlight. Jaafar Jackson. Oh my God, he is phenomenal in this film. Phenomenal. I didn't think it was possible for him to replicate Michael Jackson, but he nailed it. From his voice, to his mannerisms, to his style of dancing. I mean, the guy did his homework and it shows. And from his performance, I felt like I was seeing Michael Jackson as a person and not just an entertainer. It never felt like an impersonator or an imitation or a caricature. And what this film also does very well was show the evolution of Michael Jackson as a performer. From when he started as a member of the Jackson 5, you can see young Michael watching TV, looking at all the iconic stars like Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire, learning from those dance moves and then incorporating them into his own style. And as his life progresses, you can see him coming into his own as a performer. And by the time you get to the end of the film, everything came together so nicely. And by the way, if you're intending to see this film, just wait until you see the climax. It is explosive. And another thing that stood out to me was Colman Domingo as Michael Jackson's father, Joseph. As much as he was painted as a villain in this story, he never once felt inhuman. Due to Domingo's performance, I sort of empathized with Joseph to an extent. I mean that I understood why he did the things that he did. He was scared of poverty and obscurity. And because of their race and their economic background, he felt like his family really needed to work harder than everyone else in order to achieve the level of fame that they eventually achieved. However, he did let all the greed and fame go to his head, and he really lost sight of what was really important and what was expected of him as a father. And it took a toll on his family, especially Michael. And what this film shows very well is how lonely Michael was. Because his father worked him so hard, he never really had any friends of his own. He was always made to rehearse with his brothers, then go to school, then come home and rehearse again and perform for everyone. And when he becomes an adult, we see him surrounded by a bunch of animals and toys and picture books. Upon observation, I feel like there is an innocence to it, but there's also quite a sense of sadness. From what I have seen, I think that Michael may have been stunted as a kid, and as a result, he really didn't know how to relate to other regular folks. In fact, I am glad that there was one scene at least where Michael's mother, Kate, addressed her concerns about Michael not having friends of his own. She asks him, "Why don't you try to hang out with some kids your own age?" To which Michael responds by saying, "I would love to, but they don't treat me like everyone else. They always want my autograph or my picture." And that's why he surrounds himself with animals. And to be honest, that's a fair point, considering there is a toxicity to the celebrity culture that still is present to this day. And the film does tap into it. But that's the problem. It just taps. Which brings me to the part of the video where I talk about what I don't like about the film. And what I don't like about the film is that it is incredibly sanitized and it lacks so much depth. For example, the only well-established relationship in this movie is between Michael and Joseph. Right from the get-go, you understand what their relationship is like. Every time Joseph is near Michael, he is scared to death of him. He can't look him in the eye. He can't even call him daddy. He calls him Joseph throughout the film, which says a lot. Aside from the song and dance numbers in this film, and there were quite a lot of them, every time that Joseph and Michael ended up on the screen, I became more and more invested. Because of the tension that was between them, you never knew what was going to happen. And the audience is meant to go along this journey with Michael as he learns to muster up the courage to stand up to his own father until finally he gets the chance to break away from him once and for all. But when it comes to the other characters in this movie, we're just skimming through them. From his collaboration with Quincy Jones to the relationship that he has with his bodyguard or his own brothers, we are literally thrown in the middle of these dynamics without having any understanding as to how we got there in the first place. Also, the writing is very much on the nose. It is very informative. It hands things to us on a silver platter. It tells us exactly what Michael is thinking. It never gives the audience a chance to figure things out for themselves. And the dialogue in this film is pretty much corny, even cringeworthy at times. I mean, if you have to tell a character within the script that they are destined for greatness, then you've really lost me. And unfortunately, it does paint Michael Jackson as a very saintly figure. The filmmakers clearly wanted to show Michael Jackson in the most favorable light possible without any contradictions. And I understand people's criticism when it comes to wanting more of that. And lastly, and this is a very minor thing, I'm probably in the minority on this one, but the monkey. I'm sorry, but I'm just not a fan of the CGI. It just wasn't convincing enough. I mean, why couldn't they use a real monkey? I mean, I get it. It was probably due to humanitarian reasons, and I'm sure if Jane Goodall were alive today, she would not condone having chimpanzees as pets. But let me just reiterate, this is not a bad movie. Is it simplistic? Yes. Is the writing mediocre? Oh yeah. It's a very accessible movie that is not too complex, but it is far from the worst music biopic that I've ever seen in my life. And it still boggles my mind to this day that anyone would think that. I do respect people's opinions. I just happen to disagree with that sort of opinion. It is well crafted. The performances are outstanding and they are worth going to see this film alone. And furthermore, it is still entertaining as hell. I mean, if you cannot deliver an entertaining movie about possibly the greatest entertainer who ever lived, then you really have failed. But luckily, I don't consider this movie a failure, but I am still gonna give it a B-. Thank you for watching my video, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you again next time.